Hi everyone, my name is Samy, and I've been an animator for 12 years now. I have a degree in accountancy, okay? I don't know how to draw. I'm a very bad artist. And so what happened is, when I was at school, I always wanted to do animation, but in France, when you are at school and you say you want to do animation, people tell you, try to find a real job. So I did an accountancy degree, and then after I tried to learn art on my own. So we are talking 1999. At that time, I started to learn 3D alone. So on internet, there is very few tutorials, only for 3ds Max. Maya just came out, 1.0. It was not great. So I read a lot of books and tried to work at home following tutorials. And I did that for like 3-4 years. And then in 2005, there was a school online called Animation Mentor that just opened. And so I got in the school to learn animation. It's a school that teaches only animation, not modeling, not texture, not lighting, nothing but animation. And I've learned animation for 18 months. And at the same time that I started to do school, because I was not happy with France, I left France and traveled in Australia for 1 year. And at the same time that I was traveling, I was working for the school, doing my homework. And so just to tell you, the worst day of my life working, I start at 4 a.m. as a cook until 7 a.m. 7 to 12, housekeeper, cleaning the rooms. 4 o'clock, cleaning the pool. 5 o'clock, cleaning the garden. 7 o'clock, waiter. 11 o'clock, dishes. Dishes, cleaning the plates and everything. 2 a.m., class on internet with my teachers in the US. 4 o'clock, cook until 7 a.m. 7 a.m. to 12, housekeeper, cleaning the pool. I did that 3 days in a row. And I did all my studies like that. So when my wife and my friends were at the beach, I was doing my homeworks in the library. I lived 3 months in a campsite. Only place with internet was in the kitchen. So I was doing my homeworks in the kitchen next to Korean people doing kimchi. When I finished my trip, I went back in France, and I talked to a friend of mine who did the school with me. And thanks to him, I got my first job on a TV show. And I sent my demo reel to 7 studios. One of them was Framestore. And when they saw my demo reels, they told me no. And so I worked on the TV show. Then after I moved to Luxembourg, and for 1 year, I worked on a feature film called Number 9. Then after what happened is, when the movie finished, I was searching for a job. So I sent the same demo reel to Framestore, exactly the same. So this is one thing to understand is, if you send your demo reel to a studio and they say no, it doesn't mean you're bad. Sometimes they just have no place for you. To get a job in the industry, you need 3 things. First, you need to be good, talent. Second, you need luck. You can be the best artist in the world. If they don't need anyone, you won't get a job. If they need 5 people, there is 10 CVs. You're number 6, you won't get the jobs, they take the 5 first ones. So again, luck is very important. And the third one is networking. Knowing people working in studios helps a lot. The same way that every studio I worked is because I knew someone, and I will explain you that. So this is why one of the best ways to get a job in this industry is smile and be nice. So my friend helped me to get my first job. In my first job, helped me to go to Luxembourg. In Luxembourg, when I sent my demo reel to Framestore, a guy said, send your demo reel and say you come from me. And I got the job at Framestore. And so at Framestore, I worked there for 2 years and a half. And I worked with a woman called Robin and a man called Trip. They were my boss on 2 different projects. After 2 years and a half, I was sick of it. I wanted to go to Double Negative. I sent my demo reel. Double Negative told me no. But then I discovered that Robin was working at Double Negative. So I wrote to Robin, hey Robin, how are you? I would love to work with you again. Next week I got an interview, then I got a job at Double Negative. And when I was working for Double Negative, I did some recruitment for them. And once I was in a school, and I met other recruiters of other studios, and I met a girl called Karen. One night, with many recruiters, we went in the swimming pool at midnight, all together, having fun and drinking alcohol. And so what happened when I was tired with VFX, with double negative, I wanted to work at the mill. So I contacted Karen. Hey, Karen, how are you? It would be nice to work with you again. Next week, I got a job at the mill. Then after, I moved in Spain for 1 year, working in feature film. First experience as a lead animator. And I worked there for 1 year. My best friend was working there. So my best friend got me the job, helped me to get the job there. Okay? Hello? Then after that trip from Framestore, was working at DreamWorks in India. And he was head of studio. So I wrote an email to him. Hey, Trip, how are you? It would be nice to work with you again. And so I got a job there, and my wife as well. She works in production. And so we worked there for 3 years and a half. Then after, when we came back in France, I contacted Studio Micros, where I worked, where the head of animation was my lead on the project at Framestore. So again, hey Bart, how are you? It would be nice to work with you again. And I got a job at Micros. And so as you can hear, every studio I worked is because I knew someone who worked there, and every time it helped. The same way that if I'm here today, it's because I know Thierry. Thierry know me, so he invited me to come here. Like he said, networking is very important. And so, like I said, networking is important. You can work on that by being nice. And when someone asks you, can you stay late tonight? Sometimes it's not a question. So instead of saying no and then after say yes, just say yes straight away. Because the thing is, if people feel good working with you, it will be easier for you to get a job. And also, they will help you sometime to feel better at work. I'm telling you this, but of course, I'm not perfect. Sometimes I'm grumpy. I'm not happy. Sometimes I have a job to do, but I don't want to do it, but I still do it like, I don't want to do it, but I'll do it. So, but I try to be as nice as I can. Okay? That helps a lot in the industry. When I worked on Harry Potter, one day I got my teeth removed, my wisdom teeth. And what happened is, I was not working, but production called me and said, Samy, we have to send the shot tonight. Your shot is not finished, so someone else is going to finish your work. And I said, no. I want to finish my shot. So I came to work like this with painkillers and everything, and I did my shot as best as I can. And at 4 p.m. when I finished to do my work, production buy me an ice cream to help with the pain. And in the screening room, there was no one, and they bring the blanket and told me I can rest there if I want. They were super nice with me, because I was nice with them. So, for networking, being nice, I explained everything. Luck, there is nothing you can do about luck. Okay? So now, talent. What can we do about talent? So, talent is not what people say. It's not like you're not born with a gift. This is like lies. It's for lazy people to say that. To be talent, there is no secret, it's hard work. When you start drawing when you're 5 years old, you're not hard with yourself. You do a circle, you're happy. When you're 20 years old, you do a circle, it's not perfect. It's ugly. And you do it again, but you're never happy. And because of that, you don't move forward. But when you're a kid, you progress. But as an adult, it's harder. So now we're going to do a little test. And we're going to see you're going to see what I try to explain. So I will ask everybody to raise their hands. Everybody? Raise your hand. Now I'm going to say some things. If it's the case, you keep your hand. If it's not the case, you lower the hand. Okay. Once you lower it, not allowed to raise it again. So if you love animation, keep your hands up. If you read at least one book of animation, I'm not saying having the PDF, I say read the book from the first to the last page. If you know the names of at least 5 animators of the 9 Old Men. If you don't know what the 9 Old Men, lower your hand. If you know the name of at least 3 9 Old Men, who have the hand up? No one? If you go every week to watch a website of animation, about animation, if you read Richard Williams, Eric Goldberg, or Preston Blair. Okay? I'm the only one with the hand up. Everything that I told you is what I did when I was a student, not a professional. If I ask any of you to name me 3 actors, you can. If I ask any of you to name me 3 singers, you can. But if I ask you to name me 3 animators, most of you can't. Or 3 modelers, or 3 lighters, or 3 texture artists, or whatever you want. I talk about animation, but it's about art in general, okay? Everything that I'm telling you today is my point of view, okay? It's not the truth. It's just the way I see things. But for me, I can't imagine a musician who doesn't know who is Michael Jackson or Mozart. For me, it doesn't make sense. If you do Kung Fu, you know Bruce Lee. If you like boxing, you know Muhammad Ali. The problem is, most of these informations, you don't need to search for them. People give it to you on the media, on TV. But animation, no one talks about it. So you have to go search information. So the problem with animation, something that I want you to understand when I say animation, is the whole art. You need to work way more, way more than every other art. Because the informations are not there, you have to search for them. There is no museum about animation. There is about painting, about character design, about things like this, but about the movie industry, there is nothing. So you need to work twice more than everyone. And just so you know, what you're learning right now at school, you will keep learning all your life as an artist. I keep learning and reading books every week, all the time. I never stop. Because if you stop, you start to progress as an artist. I started like everyone with bouncing ball. That was the homeworks I did at school. Each of them is 1 or 2 weeks of work. And I was doing that while I was working at the same time. So that was my homeworks that I did when I was at school. This is what I sent to Framestore and everything. This is the demo reel that I did when I left London after working in VFX for 4 years. The next shot, I did it 117 times for 3 months. So for 3 months, I did it again and again, sometimes 3 different versions the same day. I spent 6 months trying to understand how the character moved. Some ideas were used in the movies and some other not. And finally, I'm going to show you, I think I have it here, some work I did on Captain Underpants. So yeah, because I was a lead, I have twice less time than other people to work on my shots. I have half. So I showed you the work that I did. Now I will make you understand how I think and how I do it. Okay? So, for example, let's take the dragon. So the way I work, every time before animating something, I study. So if you want to draw someone naked, you take a model, right? And you draw the model. And as you draw the model, you look at how the muscles work, how they get into each other to better understand the human body. So now, how do you do if it's a dragon?
Các bạn sẽ làm như thế nào nếu nó là một con rồng?
Anyone? Suggestion? I know you are shy, but I don't care. I want you to talk. If you don't talk, I stop. So all together, let's try to find how do you animate a dragon? How do you take your reference? Being an artist, it means you have to solve problems. Every time someone gives you a shot to do, there is problems. It's always like a puzzle. Your job is not to say what doesn't work, it's to find the solutions. If you don't like puzzles and find solutions, art is not for you. If you work at home, you do whatever you want. There is no problem, no puzzle. But if you go in a company, people will give you a shot, tell you, you have to do this, this, and that, but you can't do this, this, and that. So this is a puzzle, this is a problem. You have to train yourself to solve the problems and find how to make it work. But this is what is great about our job. We never do twice the same thing. Every day is different. So for me, everything I tell you is my point of view, okay? Don't forget that. But for me, artists working at home alone, for me, don't improve. Because every day they do the same thing. They do what they are comfortable in. They do what they like. But when you work in a studio, people will ask you to do something you don't like or you don't know how to do. So it makes it hard, but you learn from it. You learn when you do things you never did. I have a degree in accountancy. Accountancy pays better than animation. I don't do that for the money. I do that for the thrill of every day waking up and like, I have a problem to solve today. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to give life to the character. I will make people watching the movie cry or laugh or being scared. And this is what is great about this job. So now, together, let's try to find how to animate a dragon. There is no bad answers. You will try to find. If you say something that is wrong, if you don't know if it's wrong, you will never know what is good. So you can't improve and you can't learn. But if you say something wrong, I can tell you why. And then you will understand what was wrong in the way you thought. This is how you learn. This is how you improve. So we're going to try to find how to animate the dragon. Then after, we take a break. So before that, I want you to please try to participate. We try to do that together. Then after, we have a little break, and we're going to talk about body mechanic. Okay? You are the worst person to judge your work. No one will be tougher and more exigent than yourself. So my suggestion is try to look at your work through the eyes of other people and try to accept their judgment because they are way more objective than you. But be always proud of what you did. As long as you put yourself 200% in your work, as long as you try to do the best as you can, you should always be proud of your work. I'm proud of my very first shot that I've ever did in my life. I still have it, and I still show it to people with pride. Because when I did it with all the knowledge that I had at that time. This is my first render and modeling in my life. This is my first animation in my life. This is my very first full animation. Wait. Very first work cycle I ever did. And this is the first long animation I've ever did. Just to show you that we all have to start somewhere. But I never stopped to work, never stopped to study, and I never gave up. So now, let's go back to our dragon. How do we find references to help us to animate our dragon? Yeah? You go?
In my point of view, the dragon, when I see is combined by the bat, by the other animal, like bat, like alligator, like.
Okay. One step at a time. So he's right. First thing to do is to find other animals that work with the dragon to combine them. So he said to find animal with the same movement. The problem is we don't know how walk a dragon. So we don't know how are the same movements. So what do we search? How do we combine the animals? Tell me, which animal do we search and why to do the dragon? First question to ask yourself. The dragon in Harry Potter, is it a dragon or not? Is it a dragon or not? Yes? No? So, in the American language, a dragon, he has 4 legs and wings. But in the movie, it's what we call a wyvern. It's when the front arms are the wings. So this is dragon, and this is a wyvern. This is 2 arms, 4 legs, 2 wings, 2 legs, and the front legs are the wings. I told you I don't know how to draw. So now, for the wyvern, what kind of animal can help us? Bat? Why? For which part of the body? Yeah. So,
the arms and the wings.
Yes. For this part, we can study bats. And so I studied fruit bats. It's the biggest bat in the world. They live in Australia. And so the bats, usually, they walk on the wrist or here on the knuckles, but mostly on the wrist. But when we looked at the dragon, if you walk on the wrist, the fingers are closer to the body. If you walk on the knuckles, it's more open. For the design, it was better on the knuckles. Bats walk like this. But we wanted the wyvern to be like that. So which animal walks like that? Alligator walks like this. Which walks like this? Lizards. So we studied Komodo Dragon because they are very big lizards. Mammals, usually they have the front leg straight. And the structure of the bones allow the animal to be able to be on one leg and rest, just like us. We do this when we rest. The structure of the bone makes us not make much effort. This is why when you see militaries, they're like this, and then they say rest, and they go on one leg. For all the rest of the body, lizards. What about the head? From the front, the head of the dragon is a little bit like this, and the eyes are like that, on the side. Which animal do you think would be best to study it? Snake? No. Sorry? Turtle? No. The problem with the turtle is it's not as big as the dragon and doesn't have the head like this, like the dragon. So think of a big animal with a long head. Giraffe. Giraffe works, but let's take a very simple animal that everybody knows that is easy to approach and to study.
Komodo Dragon.
No. Horse. So if you think of the horse, he has a long head, and the position of the eyes helps to understand the way they look. But giraffe and other animals works as well. It's always the same principle. So when you study horse, you learn that to look far, they need to lower their head. That helps them to see far. This is when they run, their head is low. To make the focus, we use the two eyes. But a horse, if you look on the side, he has only one eye. How does he do to look far or close? Simple. If the head is low, helps to look at far. If the head is high, if you look down, it can look close. Which makes sense because as a horse is big. So when you come close to him, you're under him. So he needs to look down. But when he runs, because he lowers the head, then he can look at far. So for this animal, it makes sense. We use that philosophy for the dragon. So every time remember, if you want to try to find a reference, you have to be as close as the truth. A dragon is big, so find big animals. Just like if we study a lizard, we have to study the biggest lizard. If we study a bat, we have to study the biggest bat. Because of the size, it changed the way they move. So now, what about the neck? Which animal can help us? Think of an animal with the head, a long neck, and a body, with the head always above or the same height than the body. Salmon? No. So it's not a snake. Snake doesn't have a body, doesn't have a neck, it's the same. A giraffe has always a straight neck on top of the body. We want a neck that can go here, and that is a little bit curved. Goose? No. I'll tell you the answer. A camel. Because a camel is a quadruped that is big, has a long neck, and use the neck to help to go up and to move his body. A bird is not 4 legs, so it doesn't be the same. And the giraffe, the head is up here, so it's not the same again. You have to be as close as possible to your reference. So to do the dragon, I studied these 4 animals, look at the bone structure, the skeleton, the muscle, the way they move, why, for like 1 week or 2 weeks. And I also studied animals who are bitten by humans to see how they behave in their body language. So I discovered that every animal who are mistreated, they try to make them smaller than they are. They hide themselves and try to not move. So that was a horrible day watching videos of animals mistreated, but I had to do it to understand the way they behave so that the dragon will look like, just by a pose, as is a mistreated animal. When you look at the dragon, he has chains, he's bleeding and everything. So when you look at him, you know it hurts. So the modeling, the texture, everything showed us that the animal was mistreated. But our job as animators is to not let only the design show who the character is. We have to show it through the movement also. To tell a story, you can use the camera, you can use the sound, the dialogues, the design, the animation. You can use everything. But when you do work, you have to use everything. So every aspect of filmmaking is a kind of a language that helps you to tell something. My job as an animator is to use my language, the way I know how to give ideas, the best I can, and not rely too much on the other departments. So this is why I study so much. This is why I try to always to understand why. Why is the most important question you always have to ask.